app that you recommended yesterday to work here for the room at the same time. But yeah, it seems to be working, so all good
Great.
there. Yeah, nice experiment. So moving forward. Um, yeah, how has your week been, Karolina?
My week is busy, but a lot of interesting news. So I was looking forward to Thursday to join the weekly discussion. For some reason, we don't have Nico yet on, but I thought he was coming. So
Yeah, yeah, he'll be turning up here in a minute for sure.
yeah, sure.
So
How
I
was
think he's
your
right.
week, Pierre? Apart of your hours spent in land buying and metaverse research.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I can say that I'm officially into the rabbit hole of NFTs, metaverses, blockchains, and all that comes with it. You know, I guess there was a lag of around 8 years from most people, but here I am.
As am I, Pierre. So I will try to get my land close to you.
Yes, you have to. We were we were talking about this yesterday. There is the guy who bought the 69 million dollar NFT. His name is Metakovan. So obviously he has become this big guy in this community now, and we were trying to buy land next to him so we can say that we were a neighbor with Metakovan. But unfortunately, the land was like, to be a neighbor with Metakovan, it cost about 3 times as much money as to not be a neighbor with Metakovan. So we opted out from that in the end.
So I think we're gonna see the equivalent of trying to be neighbors with Todd from Evolution.
Exactly. That's a good analogy, I think. But yeah, I think more on that later. I think our good friend Tim is joining us today as well. It'd be nice to hear his opinions on this. Obviously, he's been in the he's been in the crypto and blockchain world for a long time. I think that he is probably part of the guard that will be kind of making fun of me a little bit for this, but that's okay, I think. Um, but yeah, anyway, guys, as a little introduction and a little start to the room this morning, it's really nice to see everyone popping in today. Really nice to have everyone back. It's Thursday morning, it's the iGaming breakfast chat, and I am absolutely pumped for today. If anyone wants to join us on stage, please feel free to put up your hand. You do that by clicking the little hand symbol, surprisingly enough, here in the bottom of the chat. And that will kind of give you an opportunity to join us here on stage today. We don't have a fixed topic today, so it's a great opportunity to actually join us on stage if you want to introduce yourself, if you have any just general questions or input or any topics to bring up today. So don't feel scared. Join us, even if it's the first time on Clubhouse or if you haven't been on stage before. Feel free to join us. And I also have one last request as well to you guys. If you feel like it, if you want to support us a little bit more, you can also ping your friends into the room by clicking on the plus symbol, and just ping the people you think that this room could give value to as well. So that's a little request. And the last thing, don't forget to click the little green house here in the room as well, and you'll be able to join the iGaming Next club as well. So you'll always be notified when these rooms appear. Yeah, that's a little introduction from my end. Nico, good morning to you as well. I know that you have been working hard here to compile the most interesting news in the iGaming industry from the last week. So feel free to give us a little update on what's going on. We are definitely not short of updates this week, that's for sure.
No, we're not short. So first of all, good morning from my end as well. Hopefully each and every one of you is doing good, having a great time. So lots has happened, and I'm pretty sure we will come across all the new quarter and quarterly reports. But let me kick you off with the Betway owner group of the Super Group set scores for a roughly 5 billion New York Stock Exchange IPO. Came up last week. No, on the weekend. It was published on a Sunday. Then a new market, a new state. Florida is becoming close to reality as the governor signed a new 30 years gaming compact with the Seminole tribe. So we're looking forward to another state of the United States being opened to the operators, to the public, which would put Florida ahead of each and everyone, as we are seeing or estimating the biggest numbers from Florida. Another thing we've seen, the Nevada casinos finally have their first $1 billion month since February 2020. So it's a question, are we getting back to normal in the Nevada and the regular casino business as well? From a legal point of view, the UEFA just launched the investigation into Zlatan Ibrahimovic and his Bethards stake. So maybe the career of Zlatan might come to an abrupt end. Another thing which has happened just yesterday, so now all the federal states in Germany finally ratified the new gambling treaty, which will become active by the 1st of July, a topic which we touched last week already, but now it's safe and sealed. And from a tech perspective, we've seen something which we already kind of have seen coming with the Kindred Group announcing their streaming overlay product where you can actually watch and bet, a topic which we already hit, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks ago. Yeah, so quite interesting. And the question which Tim brought up was like, okay, will we see other operators to actually follow this approach, or will we actually see content providers and TV channels to become operators? So this is also a pretty interesting topic as well. And I'm just handing over the mic to Karolina as well. Thanks from my end.
Thanks, Nico. I'm not sure if I've got much to add to this. The watch and stream is specifically interesting for me to see because it goes hand in hand with, you know, what I've been preaching as well, that the experience really needs to come into one place. And I think this is really an execution from their side. And I think LiveScore Group has also launched some new innovative features when it comes to content streaming on their new site. So this was a cool week in that aspect. But in terms of news and M&As, I think you've covered the most important ones.
Yeah, I think jumping into another thing that is of interest to me is obviously looking at the meteoric rise and rise and rise and rise of Evolution Gaming that we've seen now with an incredible quarterly report that came out a couple of days ago, this exponential growth in all areas of the business. And there's some interesting statistics just to put in perspective here what Evolution have now achieved. They on the quarterly report, their share jumped about 15%, and that now puts them on a higher market cap than the likes of HP, eBay, EA Sports, H&M, 7-Eleven, and Hilton Group. Isn't that just incredible? And you know, I mentioned H&M here, which is like one of the most Swedish brands ever. So you could say that Evolution Gaming is now Sweden's gift to the world, together with IKEA. It's one of the biggest Swedish brands in the world. But isn't that amazing for the online gaming industry to be able to provide an organization that can compete in terms of market caps with organizations like that? I just found that just absolutely incredible. So on that note, Tim Heath, what do you think about this? Is it sustainable? Will Evolution Gaming continue to rise, or are they overvalued?
Feels a little bit like Bitcoin, Pierre, that some people will be on the Evolution bandwagon and will keep pushing up, and some people think it's too big and it's unsustainable. I think for Evolution, though, the more they move into the American market, from what I read, it was about only 20 million GGR coming from the Americas at the moment, but that's got huge room for growth moving forward. So I think they're making the perfect play at the perfect time, and they'll be the dominant force there. And yes, the share price can continue to grow if they continue to grow their American traffic. I think sort of the European and the UK markets potentially are somewhat saturated, that there's not that much more room for growth there. It's more taking market share from other live dealers, but I think in the Americas, to the moon for evolution. The one thing I would say, I saw some analysis about it from a Swedish investing group. I think you forwarded to me actually, Pierre, was that the question was around their slots. So obviously they are best of breed in terms of their production for live dealer, but can they get those slot games back up into being one of those top 5 ones? Will this combination or the morphing between slots and live dealer in somewhat of a Todd Huizenhuis game show-esque type environment, will that actually be a hit for the market? And I think that's a great unknown, but all credit to Evolution as a 15%, so a $17 billion company, to take a chance and take a risk and try something new, because if you don't try something new as a big corporation and don't keep innovating, you get blinded out in the poker tournament. It's as simple as that. So I think there's still upside for Evolution in a big way.
I would like to add to that in terms of the US market, as you say, Tim, this is probably massive room for growth and opportunity, but it's also for live dealers specifically a very challenging market when it comes to utilizing the scale that you can utilize in Europe, because as it stands, you can't share liquidity between states, which means that each state that regulates need to have a separate studio. So the profitability of tables that you can achieve, especially of the network tables, having them in one country in Europe and serving all different jurisdictions, is not possible in there. So this is another statement to Evolution's commitment and investment into growth in that markets, because they're still going at it early. They were the very first, second ones after Azugi to open up a studio in New Jersey. They went after Pennsylvania. Whether that's profitable from start, you can't say. But I think this shows that they're really serious about pursuing that market, regardless of this being a cost, heavy exercise.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and certainly they've got their template down, Pat. They have their studios in Malta and Riga and Tbilisi and whatnot. So they've got that template refined, so they can. I think they're doing a shared one in Spain and Casino Madrid, but they've got that template ready to go in and say, right, we need a 20-table studio in Michigan, which will satisfy the demand. Does it need to be bigger than that, or will that be satisfactory? And if you think about typical blackjack, actually, it's not like a baccarat where it's a one-to-many game. It's a one-to-one game, or 7 versus 1 game. There's only 7 seats. And I don't know about other people, but what I don't like are the betting behind. I like to be in control of my bets. So, you do need enough blackjack tables to satisfy, and you can't just grab them from that general pot. The only difference here, though, if you're running out of the Riga studio or the Tbilisi studio, potentially that cost per table might be cheaper compared to having 7.5 game presenters per table in Michigan with taxes and whatnot in that regard. But the one thing I would like to draw attention to, that everyone talks about the European American market and Evolution, but no one really, I believe on this chat, would really know what's going on in the Asian market on those privately held live dealers. Now, I have to put a valuation on a company such as those ones and what they're doing in the Asian markets, because it is so far bloating what we see reported on a clean European or American facing live dealer, that it's just the great unknown for most people about what happens in Asia from a live dealing perspective, especially out of China.
I heard from someone at Evolution that about 4% of their turnover of the bets that they take actually comes from Bitcoin as a currency. Maybe that is alluding a little bit to on the Asian side as well, because I would assume that much of that is from Asian players.
I'm happy to be 1/20th of Evolution's action, Pierre. No, it is very interesting, and obviously in Manila with all the COVID issues, a lot of the studios have had to shut down. But you know, I've heard
Results were already then astonishing. So I totally agree with.
the one thing there though, Karolina, is that how do you put a valuation on a cash business that coming out of China? And I don't think you really can. So it's a little bit unfair to sort of compare apples versus oranges. But I'm sure there's a few Asian companies looking to do some investments in the near future in that case.
I'm trying to look for the numbers that Evolution reported from the North American market here, because you mentioned this Tim, that the biggest increase in the revenues in percentage wise in the market in Evolution Gaming came from North America, and I actually have it here in front of me now. So in Q4 2020, Evolution posted 12.6 million euro revenue, and in Q1 2021 they posted 21.6, so it was an increase of about 71%, but it still only accounts for about 10% of the group revenue. Now take that into perspective of Martin Carlson just the other day, the CEO of Evolution, he said that he expects the North American market to become 10 to 20 times bigger than the European market. I don't know if that is bloated numbers, so I mean, it's anyone's guess at the moment, but this came directly from Martin Carlson, that his own expectations. So that, I guess, is just a little bit of a kind of alluding to why a lot of people think that the meteoric rise of Evolution hasn't or will not slow down in the foreseeable future. Bernd, good morning to you as well. What do you make of all of this? Just generally on the finance side of the iGaming industry at the moment, it seems to be sunshine and roses in the iGaming industry right now.
Good morning, everyone. That there are some really good news, yeah. But we in Germany are at the moment very busy with the new slots license. So they announced yesterday in TV that full Germany, all the politicians joined this contract, and this will start then in 1st of July. And at the moment there is a big discussion how they will calculate the tax on slots, because they want to have 5.3% on turnover, and it's not yet sure how this has to be done. That could destroy a bit the business if it's done wrongly, because most game providers, they are preparing to lower the RTP from at the moment 96% to 91 or even 88. And so yeah, we are heavily involved and have lots of work to do. That's also a reason why I have to leave now, because I have lots of calls and planning meetings how we will do things.
Fair enough, Bernd. So I'll take that back. It's not all sunshine and roses here if we take Germany into account. Obviously, an interesting market here. And just before we let you go, Bernd, I have one last question for you if you have time. We are hosting a topic here at the iGaming Next Power Hour next Friday. which is moderated by Nico here, our lovely co-moderator today, which is titled, let me see if I can get this right, the German regulation, is it going to lead to kind of like a Mad Max type of landscape in Germany, as in that it's the Wild West, it's the black market space type of thing. Do you think there is a risk that the German market can just turn into a Wild West here?
Definitely, because as it's planned at the moment, the legal part of the business will be really tough, and I know that a lot of operators are into the gray or the black, more likely. So it's difficult, yeah. So we should talk about that next Friday.
Absolutely, yes. So that'll be an interesting conversation for sure. So Nico will moderate that to make sure not to miss that out. It's the Power Hour. It's free to attend, free to check it out.
Yeah.
So we'll dig deeper into that topic for sure. I mean, Nico, I mean, what about you? Any comments to chime into in regards to the German regulation here?
So I'm pretty sure we already touched this topic like last week with the 5.3% on tax
Sorry,
on
I
the.
have to leave. I will hear you next Friday. Okay, thanks.
Awesome.
Bye bye.
Good.
Thank you, Ben. Take care of
Good,
yourself.
good. So we just touched on that topic with the 5.3% on the taxes of the turnover, which has now been reduced to an effective tax rate of 5.0.3, which is a little bit lower. But the question just remains, and I'm pretty sure Tim hasn't. And Robert, who just joined the stage as well, will have their insights as well. So if you just lower the taxes by a very, very small margin, it will still make the tax authorities the biggest winner of the regulated market as well. So we will just see how things will turn out and how things will work out. And I'm pretty sure Robert has some interesting insights as well on this topic as well. So Robert, welcome to you to the stage. So what's your guess on the turnover tax rate in Germany?
Hi. What still surprises me, although I'm really tapped into the market, I really have a good network here and read up on everything I can, I'm still surprised about new information coming to light once in a while. But I heard that too. I think it's a calculation thing. It's a little bit like how you calculate VAT. Yeah, like you add 20% on top, but really that's not 20% of the total, but less kind of, I think, calculation. So if you just have it in Excel, I think you can come up with the 5.03 yourself, kind of. I think that's how it works, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But the ballpark is exactly the same. So I think the question mark, let's not overstretch the German topic too much because we already touched upon it last week. But the only question I have to the market, and I think hardly anybody can answer it, when exactly the tax law will be implemented? Because currently, at the moment, still it's in draft stage and time is running out. I hear it's going to be passed in June. Other people say it's in July. When it's in July, what does it mean? Does it mean actually in August, or that's a little bit of a question. Also, like I talked to the MGA, we might be in a really weird spot now where, tax law and gambling law are sort of separate topics, where yes, the regulation is in place 1st of July, but nobody has a license come 1st of July. But the tax might be in place 1st of July. Now, a lot of operators will then say, okay, I'm an MGA operator, I'm a Maltese operator, I'm serving Germany from my MGA license, and now I have to have games on my site which are below the 92% limit, what the MGA allows. I talked to the MGA, they said they're going to issue a statement about this, so I assume they're going to allow lower RTPs certified against MGA. So there's going to be, I think, likely, maybe other people have different opinions or know-how, because this is being debated, discussed about with operators and partners, is that for a few months until, let's say, an Entain or a Tipico has a license in Germany, they will operate from the MGA but pay the German tax, and you will have to have specific new certificates from the MGA, because hardly anybody or nobody can actually have currently MGA certificates below 92%. So we already booked a spot, a certification spot. We paid for it with iTech Labs in June to make sure we're not getting squeezed out. So there could be all kinds of funky stuff happening in the next few weeks in terms of timings, when exactly, what day, what week, what month certain things are implemented. And as a small supplier or even mid-tier supplier, the operators don't really make a strong statement as exactly what the process will be, because they don't know for sure, and they obviously expect the suppliers to know what to offer to the operator. So it's going to be quite a funky period where we could end up with some sites having very, very little content online for a few weeks. Because simply, nobody at the moment has an MGA certificate below 92%, unless they got an exception of it for some reason. Previously, we got it for scratch cards, but that's not, I think, allowed in the current German regulation. So that the next few weeks come, especially June, July, August, is going to be quite interesting.
So, and as already stated by Pierre and Robert as well, we would just touch down on a German exclusive Power Hour. And just touch down on this topic next week on a Friday. So it's an interesting topic, and hopefully and maybe we already have more information to share with the audience within the iGaming Next Power Hour next week, which is exclusively just dealing with the German legislation in the German market.
Cool. Before we jump over to another topic, I'd like to just ask one last question on this subject. From an operator point of view, who is most exposed to the German market right now? So Typico would obviously be one of them, you would assume. Which are some other operators that are most exposed to the German market?
This leads into an RTP discussion, in my opinion, because we touched this last week. So suddenly it's really interesting. A slots provider can manipulate the tax the operator pays by lowering the RTP. Now, if you are typical, this is my opinion. This is not information I have from operators. It's just what I feel, how it works or could work or should work. Now, if you're typical and if you BWin, you're a sports-led brand, yes, you make a hell of a cash with casino, but you probably, I assume, just put a little bit less focus for a few months on casino, and just see what happens, basically. And also, you're not really sort of pushing down on the RTP to optimize your margin. You probably offer 90, 91, maybe even 92%, which is quite high. There's like 40% margin left, 60% GGR equivalent tax to be paid. So you probably just don't care about it that much. You just lower your expectations in terms of income. You don't do any acquisition in casino. You just sort of let it ride and see what happens the next few months. However, I think the big question here is, and these are the operators which are really exposed, I think, are casino first, like Wunderino and other companies like this, because if they only have casino, all their margin is coming from casino, and if they don't sort of manage this well, they have a hard time surviving, especially against other sports-led brands who have a casino maybe at a higher RTP rates. So the landscape is going to be split, and the decisions will be differ quite a lot, I think, between sports-led brands and casino-led brands in Germany.
Cool. Interesting, Robert. Trying to figure out here which companies' shares I should not invest in here in the coming couple of months, basically. Interesting. Thank you for that, Robert. I want to move over to a little bit of a different topic from here. Yesterday, I had a meeting with Sebastian of CasinoLytics, who has actually been one of the guest speakers here in the Clubhouse sessions previous weeks. CasinoLytics is an analytic company that is specifically analyzing Twitch streamers and the different engagement that they bring to the iGaming industry. So Sebastian, he used to work for NetEnt, and the moment they understood the power of iGaming streamers was the moment where all of a sudden, from one day to the other, they saw this massive uptick in Starburst traffic coming from Russia specifically, and they were trying to understand why that is. And they realized that after a while that this traffic was coming due to one of the Russian streamers who happened to have Starburst as their favorite game, and he had just become popular, and they, because of that, they saw a massive uptick in traffic coming from Starburst. So that's kind of the foundation of Casinolytics, basically. So I just want to open this topic up a little bit. Tim, perhaps you can lead here. Can you talk a little bit on your expectations here as we go into the future of casino streaming? Obviously, I'm interested to hear as well the kind of confrontation here between SEO affiliation and casino streaming affiliation, and just your thoughts in general on this topic. Are you bullish? Are you bearish? And so on.
I look back to the poker days, Pierre, and sort of how that whole transformation of the acquisition of customers sort of went through. And, you know, even back in party poker, you used to put up a banner somewhere and you'd get 1,000 FTDs, and there was no real funnel, there was no real proper call to action, but it was just so easy to onboard a customer. I think back in the early 2000s in the casino, when it was Casino on Net, which obviously 888, again, similarly, so easy to go and get an FTD. I think there's been that much traffic and that much, what's the word? It's just completely, it's full. The market's full of affiliates all doing the same thing. There's that much competition that the emphasis has gone away, that the affiliates now have that control on sending players, especially in some Scandinavian markets. Obviously, operators can't afford to continue operating like this because it erodes their margins and it becomes very, very difficult, and they have to accept erroneous sort of hybrid deals which don't make sense. Now, we've then seen the growth of streamers coming out as a way of sort of engaging the customer on Twitch and sending them to different things. And I think there was the CasinoGrounds purchase a couple of years ago. And we've seen the Rothsteins and the Classy Beasts of the world really taking the world by storm. For me, it's also looking at different languages. So whether that be, you know, a French Canadian streamer, whether it be a Russian streamer, whether it be a Taiwanese streamer, I think there's that much possibility out there to engage customers, to not just acquire a customer like an affiliate does, but also to really help with the retention of customers, to continually promoting a brand, that a streamer has a more holistic role to play in the ecosystem for a casino operation. Whereas an SEO affiliate, and don't get me wrong, I was one as well, but it's more sort of like, I'll send you a lead, you guys convert it and my job done, and I'll expect a lifetime revenue. And I just don't think that's a sustainable business model over the long term. So I think we are seeing this shift into the TikTok world, short, bite-sized, entertaining content. And I think the streamers are certainly here to stay. And it's not just the streamers who are based in Malta. It is those streamers who are streaming in different languages that perhaps we're not seeing. And I'm just having a look at this Casinolytics. Very interested in seeing how wide and how broadly they are capturing the market. Are they getting all the streamers from Brazil, for instance? And how wide is their sort of geographic footprint there? But I'm very, very bullish on the streamers, and I think it's certainly the way forward. And I think Google's becoming too smart for traditional SEO and, you know, black hat PPC and what other types of affiliates that we've seen. And there's a shift coming, so it's better to be at the start of that shift than at the back end of that shift.
Thanks, Tim. As if by an absolute miracle, our good friend Tobias Svensen, the CEO and founder of CasinoGrounds, is actually in the room right now. Tobias, good morning to you. How are you doing? And obviously, we'd love to hear your thoughts on Tim's what points Tim raised here.
Hi, Pierre, and thanks for the intro. So I think there was a lot of really good points there made by Tim. We are going through this change in behavior and how users engage with content and kind of what kind of marketing formats they prefer. So I'm very bullish myself, obviously. On the other hand, I think it was also quite a good point made that the streaming world is bigger than Europe and the English-speaking markets. I think we're seeing quite the efforts being made localizing the content. It's beginning to become quite overpopulated in the English-speaking section of Twitch and YouTube. So yeah, a lot of really interesting things going on in that space.
And looking into the future as well. I mean, we touched upon the American market here previously. Tobias or Tim or anyone for that matter, do you have any insights in the streaming market of the US specifically? Is that something now that is an emerging market? Are you counting on affiliation from US streaming to also become one of the kind of massive growth loops for an operator?
I think currently we're seeing quite the change in the streaming world. I actually wrote an article about it a week or two ago. But we have a large amount of these new kind of streamers that tend to get operators to fund them money and are kind of playing risk-free, something we are actively working against. But we've seen, especially the last year, a massive growth here. And some of them are definitely focusing a lot on the US. There's this crypto operator called Rubet, which has done a massive push. And there was quite a scandal last week, actually, where one of the absolute biggest streamers in the world was gambling for the first time. I believe he had 150,000 viewers at the peak, give or take. And he received a massive backlash because after the gambling session, he went straight over to play Fortnite. And if you look at his demographic, you will also see there's quite a bit of underage, since he's usually streaming normal computer games. So I think there's going to be quite a lot of things happening on that end. It's not great that the part of the US streaming right now that is really exploding is the unlicensed, unregulated form, without any kind of measures to prevent these kind of marketing. So I think it's a lot of going on. I know there's a lot of things happening in this space, but we are definitely interesting to get a foothold in the US and have some interesting projects I'm hoping to announce later this year.
It's interesting, Tobias. I mean, if we think about the world in general, Americans have always been fantastic entertainers. They are the Hollywood of the world. Well, I haven't thought about Bollywood in that regard, but seeing what Rubet are doing, they are going bananas. And I didn't realize they had the first casino license in America to be able to do that. But maybe that's a topic for another day. What's really amazing is their use of influencers in making YouTube channels and nearly making sort of subplots and the short little 10-minute videos on how to do this. It's not so much that the Twitch streaming, or it may well be the Twitch streaming as well. My big question is, when will Twitch wake up and either put some proper age verification like YouTube does, or will they pull the plug on this? And then what is the backup plan for all the streamers who are building a business based on Twitch? What do they do then, in your opinion?
So it's a very valid question. Twitch is notoriously known for ignoring any kind of controversy until it goes mainstream, and then they tend to crack down hard on it. And there was only about 2-3 weeks ago, Twitch actually, for first time in a very long time, created an algorithm to remove fake followers and fake viewers. So for those interested, it's quite cool to see the Social Blade status. Social Blade is a site to check social media statistics, to check how many that actually lost a significant amount of followers. One of the more notorious and kind of that has a fake money streaming reputation lost, I believe it was close to 40,000 or so. So there is
You can
a lot
say the
of...
name, Tobias. You can mention the name. Who was it?
No, but there was a lot, actually. It was kind of a common denominator between those who kind of engage in the sketchy ways of funding the streams, also took a massive hit on the follower and view counts. So you can see a quite strong correlation that when you're taking shortcut on one end, you're quite prone to take shortcuts on other areas as well. So I touched upon it a bit in the article, how operators and game providers can kind of look into the statistics and understand a bit more who their partner is.
And Tobias, another question, if I may. You've obviously got a lot of experience in this area, and I think there's a lot of operators who are now opening their eyes to streaming. What's your recommendation on how operators can best work with streamers? And are we at a point where the streamers are becoming a little bit too big, where they're sort of dominating the requirements of how to work with operators now, or what's the best practice as an industry we should be looking here, so it's a good, even, fair, a balanced playing field for everyone to make a few bucks?
I think the core part is structuring the deals in that it has a kind of long-term mutual beneficial focus. I think a lot of the shortcut streamers, so to say, focus on getting high CPAs, and essentially they're just moving the same player base between the highest bidder on the CPA. I think as an operator, you should look for to see which other brands they're promoting, because the streamers that promoting the most established brands isn't what is going to make you the most money, but it is what is going to give your audience the best experience. So I think just by looking at the partners you're kind of working with the most actively gives a good indication. Are these guys streaming with their audience in mind, or are they streaming with the purpose of making as much money short term as possible? I think that is one of the good indications. For game providers, for example, I would be looking at other areas such as the follower count to see that if you see a massive drop of, let's say, 10,000 followers in a day, you know that Twitch has been cleaning up fake followers and that you might not get the exposure that you're paying for.
Thank you, Tobias. Bogdan, any comments from you so far on the session today in general? And good morning to you as well.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Pierre. Nice to be back again. Well, actually, the one thing from the news from the past, from the last week news, which strikes me, is actually something which I have been expecting for quite some long time. The development of the mobile application, which Kambi did. And I think this is, of course, it is related to their great involvement into the US market. But I think the industry has been somehow, maybe not in the Stone Age, but it was lacking quite for some time an improvement and some fresh breeze when it comes to mobile apps and to experience which you are gaining from the game. So coming back to my early days in iGaming, I remember how exciting it was introducing the live betting first, and right now this I would say innovation, because if you look on the concept, is pretty easy, so to speak. But by far nobody did it. So I'm looking very much forward to this innovation, and I am expecting that it would be a great success, not only for Kambi, but we should see others following their footsteps. So from my side, that was a highlight of the week, so to speak, and I think this is going to make quite some nice change in the customer perception of the game and the betting itself. As for the rest of the topics which you have been putting into the table for this session, I think each and every one of us is looking for the US expansion, all the companies which are joining the race in US. And I remember a year ago when there was just a couple of companies actually targeting the US market, at least openly, and there were just a few states which allow sports betting. Now what I'm really looking forward, and I think that would be the next step after the legalization in all the states or majority of the states in US, is actually making making the casino license available for all those already existing operators in the US market, and that will create a real behemoth where Europe will be just a very, very small player, which only could be compete. I mean, the US market can only be compete with the Asian players, where we have the majority of really big whales, and also this what I think, Tim, you've been brought this to the table, that there is quite a lot of Asian players who are involved in the cryptocurrency, and they are placing so amazing bets in terms of a turnover with the cryptocurrency. So I'm very much looking forward to, first of all, to Kindred and other operators to jump into their foots, because we have been lacking this type of innovation, and it will be nice to see the race between the companies who do it this right and the ones who will do it perhaps a little bit wrong, because that will be something what we will be expecting. And last but not least, I think we are going to see, and we are going to witness some more acquisition in the coming year, especially looking at the US market, because the dynamics which are in there and the interest which they bring to the industry is enormous. So I think we should be facing some further acquisitions and creation of some big, really big players in the US market who can pretty much also put their footsteps in Europe after creation. But it is something for the latter. That would be pretty much from me, from the as an update, and this is what I think on what's going on in the market from my perspective. Thank you.
Awesome, Bogdan. Thank you so much for that. And obviously, you joined us last week as well in the interesting discussions on EGBA. But for those who didn't get the opportunity to join us last week, Bogdan, can you just introduce yourself again, what it is that you do, and so on?
Yeah, sure. So I'm for quite some time in the iGaming industry. Started in, if I'm not mistaken, 1999. So it's been quite a while. I've been working on both sides of the field, being both an operator, so business to client, and also business to business. And I'm currently trying to share my expertise with the various companies, finding the clients, and also pretty much serve as a consultancy and helping the businesses to flourish. So that's basically what I'm doing, and a short introduction of me.
Brilliant, thank you, Bogdan. And the one question for you as well. You mentioned the US market, and obviously all eyes are over there at the moment. You mentioned cryptocurrencies as well, and just as an interesting little comment here, the CEO of DraftKings, he was asked, Jason Robbins, he was asked if DraftKings will offer cryptocurrencies as a payment solution at some point. And Jason Robbins were very clear, saying that DraftKings are always open for emerging technologies. They are always open to be first movers, and when the opportunity strikes, they will absolutely offer cryptos as a payment solution as well. So that's quite interesting to hear from the horse's mouth there too. Bogdan, a question for you though. The CEO of Evolution, Martin Carlson, he expects that the US market will end up being 10 to 20 times bigger than the European market. Do you feel that is realistic, or do you feel that he is bloating the numbers?
Well, honestly speaking, I don't think this is a figure which is unrealistic. Of course, right now, when we look at it from our perspective, it might sound ridiculous. But look, I remember the first somehow movements of the companies into the VIPs, and the treat of the VIPs in the companies. And I remember that just alone, I'm not going to mention which company it was, but I remember back in the days that we have a single Italian customer where when he go for the vacation or he's been sick, the turnover fall out by 30% in the company, and that was Italy, Italian customer. Now imagine for evolution for all those players who are going to be in this really, in my opinion, the biggest, slowly becoming the biggest company out there with both the live product but also the slots, thanks to the acquisition of NetEnt. And just imagine how many this type of VIP players in the US who you can find in the later stage. So that is not an understatement. And looking on the size of the US market, which is also hungry of gambling, they didn't get opportunity to place the bets online. This is a big hype, and also before they didn't get the good tools in the hands. Just to mention, this still pretty much Stone Age banking system in the US. So the cryptocurrency are coming here for sure, not only for the US but for the other markets. But what I am expecting to happen is actually the number, which is right now kind of ridiculous, might be pretty much achieved very, very soon. Just wait for opening more states and just wait for lobbying for granting the casino licenses. We'll see how that goes, but I don't think that's the science fiction.
Cool. Thanks so much for that, Bogdan. I appreciate that. We're going to move on here as well, and I want to give Liesbeth and Alexandre some time here before we close things off today as well. But before we do that, I have a question for Mr. Tim Heath. Okay, Tim, the metaverse. Now we're jumping into the land of NFTs and blockchain and so on and so forth. The metaverse, which is the kind of the playground and the Second Life type video games, is blowing up with economies, real world economies based on the Ethereum blockchain. And recently, Atari, the classic video games company that is now producing gambling machines as well, Atari announced that they are building a real money casino in a virtual world where players can actually go in and bet for real money. And in parallel, they're also building a real world casino in Las Vegas. So my question to you, Tim, is where is the Coingaming metaverse casino?
Oh, shiver me timbers. Let's look at NFTs firstly. I can then answer your second question after that. So obviously people might or might not know we're sponsoring Arsenal. We're their global betting partner worldwide. I had a message from their CCO this morning saying, Tim, can you help us with NFTs? We want to be part of it. We've got a lot of our own content, our great goals. We've got a massive supporter base around the world. How do we do this? How do we do a Dapper Labs and ride the wave? And my problem is, if we think about that amazing Michael Jordan slam dunk, the Nike one, yes, I could own the original version of that, but I can also do a Google image search and I can go and get the same picture and I could blow it up and put it on my wall. How important is it to sort of own that? It's not unique because everything in data is replicatable. Yes, it might be for your own ego purposes the great thing to own the original picture of something or the original thing, but is it really that important? And are the to certify that this is the best one, is there an associated cost with it, which is a plausible cost? Now, where I think NFTs work, if we look at something like Z.Run, which is a startup out of Australia who incidentally are working with Atari as well, they're breeding horses and then they're racing horses like on a virtual reality type platform. So you can now be assured that the authenticity of the horse that you are buying using MetaMask and Ethereum is coming from the bloodline of the 4 different bloodlines, and you can see what the history of every horse's race is. And what you're doing when you buy that horse is buying a certified and authentic history behind what goes on. Then those horses are racing, then you can bet on the horses, you can sponsor the horses, you can buy and sell horses, you can breed, have your stable. And I think that's the second iteration of what an NFT does, where once you've got the authenticity of something, then you've got utility to use it for something else. But if you're just buying a picture to hang on the virtual wall, why bother? And for me, that doesn't make sense. In terms of Coingaming making their, let's call it Second Life casino, I still like the real world, which is why we are building our own land-based casino, but we'll be using it'll be a cashless casino, which will utilize crypto as a form of money transfer to, you come to the blackjack table and you will scan a QR code of the dealer and you'll send him 100,000 euros and the dealer will give you 100,000 euros in chips. And if you win 200,000 euros, he will then take your chips back and from his dealer app, he will now scan and send you back money. Now, for me, that makes a lot of sense in bringing the sort of the seamless efficiency of a crypto transfer into a land-based casino without the need of going to a cashier and whatnot, because obviously behind the scenes, we can now track all the money, we can do our AML, we can do our CFT, everything needs to be done, but we're simplifying that user experience. And I think the metaverse is actually bringing crypto into a land-based casino and helping facilitate that movement of money from around the world.
Interesting, Tim. Thank you so much for those insights. And it's interesting to see. I mean, is this going to be just the biggest bubble that that we have seen in recent years, or is this actually a space that will solidify into something that is more tangible? That remains to be seen. But Bogdan, you have a comment here as well?
Yeah. I just want to jump into this what Tim says. Actually, I am also quite close monitoring. I'm monitoring quite close the NFTs, and I had recently a discussion and also some personal observation that this is a perfect speculative asset. So I spoke with a lot of guys who are buying this the same asset but number it as number 1 or number 13 and put it up a ridiculous price on something would cost them $500. They are selling for $1 million, and this kind of a thing. And to my surprise, there is quite a lot of people who actually are into. So I am looking into this like some sort of speculative asset, but also something new for the people in the crypto environment who don't want to be the last one on the train, like the war, for instance, with the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrencies itself. So it's right now it's quite a big hype about it. But the amounts which are around the NFTs are ridiculous for something which actually, to be honest, doesn't make too much of a sense. But that's how it is. So it's just my 2 cents is that I'm perceiving this more like a speculative asset rather than something what will change the world. Definitely, this is another revenue stream for big football clubs. We see some already some services which are providing this type of NFTs for the public, for people who are interested in this. But I'm very, very interested to see how that go and when actually the hype will stop around it. So that's just what I wanted to add.
Thank you, Bogdan. Yes, I think what's happening in the NFT space, just before moving on here to Liesbeth and Alexandre for the last kind of comments of today, that what's happening in the NFT space seems to be that right now it seems that the people who are bullish on NFTs, they believe that this is the start of something that will solidify and always remain here, and they feel that whatever popular NFTs that comes out now is like the first wave of NFTs, and being first brings some form of value. So that's why the CryptoPunks, for example, are extremely expensive. They are the first NFTs, and because they are the first, they have some sort of value that will carry on into future generations. But that's a discussion for another day. And it remains to be seen if we are in a bubble or if this something comes out of that. But moving on again here, before we close the room today, I would love to have a little update from Liesbeth here as the sustainability manager of Aspire Global. Liesbeth, take 2 to 3 minutes and give us an update on what is the latest in sustainability and the work that you guys are doing with Aspire, and just how you see the industry in general is tackling this topic. And good morning to you, by the way.
Good morning. Yes, hello to everyone. Hope you're enjoying your breakfast. I think this is an exciting time for sustainability because we are in the season of reporting, which means like a lot of annual reports have been published, and there overall companies are paying attention to describing sustainability, and many of them also have like a standalone sustainability report. And this is where you put in all the efforts you do, mostly like above being compliant, to really position your company as like socially responsible. And you can set goals and everything there. So at Aspire, we published this like 2 weeks ago, and has been received very well. We focus here on the safe user environment, and I think it was very interesting what Tobias was saying before about Twitch and everything, which is more focused on the responsible marketing. I see that as a very important part of the safe user experience creation, because here we mostly focus on responsible gambling, but what comes before you get the person to your platform is the whole marketing trajectory. And that's also where the operators and the industry is responsible for, that we market the gambling products in a good and responsible way. So yeah, besides the safe user experience, we're focusing on what we do for the environment initiatives to become carbon neutral. We focus on people or employees, and we focus on the digital environment, which is all about how to keep it safe, away from threats, cybersecurity, information security. So there's a lot of information there, and would love to talk to you more about it, but this is 3 minutes.
Absolutely. Thank you, Liesbeth. It's absolutely a topic we should continue on as we go forward here as well. And I know that we are talking at the moment, Liesbeth, with Aspire to lift this very topic in our event in June. So we're looking forward to that. Before we close things off today, I want to give the word to Alexandre, and then also finally to Rory. Karolina, she had to drop out here. She had another meeting, so I hope she is having a good day. But Alexandre, the philosopher of the iGaming industry himself, what do you make of this conversation we've had in the last hour? And I'll give you about 2 to 3 minutes to summarize things and your little evaluation of this.
Wow.
And good to see you here again, by the way.
Good to see you, Pierre. What a title. There's many things I wanted to react to. Now I just had to dig back into my memory. As an operator, like 3 or 4 years ago with Slots Million, we started working with Twitchers, and one thing we noticed, and I remember talking about that with Tobias, is that there were this funky relationship happening behind our back as an operator between the Twitchers and the software providers, because basically these guys are they're not promoting operators, they use us in a way at the end of the day to make the money, because we're the guys that are going to pay them. But what they promote is the slot themselves. And it's a very interesting twist in the industry. Affiliates at the beginning, they wouldn't even talk about the product. They wouldn't even talk about the slots. I remember when I started as an affiliate 15 years ago, I was putting the free slots on the website, and I was giving the name of the software provider. And everybody was telling me, why are you doing that? I mean, people, they don't care, they don't even know who's microgaming. And the shift with the Twitchers is that they don't talk about the casino. They don't say the casino is good or this or that. What they talk is about the slots. What they talk is about Dead or Alive 2 or Starburst, etc., etc. The casino has zero importance for them anymore. Neither as for the player within the Twitcher perspective. That's very interesting. And it's interesting also in terms of business model, revenue stream, because they start closing the deals. I mean, they did since the beginning, and we've seen it with Big Time Gaming, because Nick would believe in this medium since day one, and we've seen that with the other Nick from Red Tiger. They would directly deal with them, and that's why Big Time Gaming and Red Tiger Gaming got so big with streaming, and we see that they pay them, and we see that finally they pass over us, and that's something we discussed with Tobias on a panel in front of operators, and the operator was very confident in the control he had over Twitchers, And I was trying to explain as an operator myself that these guys are going to squeeze us. At some point, they're going to work directly together, and what is going to happen to the operator? The operator basically is going to be the guy that's taking the risk, everything about compliance and money processing. And that's it. You're going to do the money processing, and you're going to take all the compliance risk. But the product, one side, the player, the other side, what is really the value that the operator is bringing if the Twitcher is doing the show, basically, and the software provider is providing the games. So that was my feedback on more business side perspective of streaming. NFTs, I couldn't say better than you said yourself, Pierre. You're going to buy today the first NFTs. Even if tomorrow there's billions of them and the value is going to drop down, you're going to be the one that bought this first NFT. So that's a great thing. I didn't believe it in the beginning. I thought it was a scam, you know. But the more I think about it, the more I think also about what Tim was saying. Yes, it's intangible. Okay, perfect. As the fact that we're buying music online was at the beginning. People, they wanted to have their CD. I don't know if you guys remember those times. Maybe you're too young for that, but they wanted to have the physical CD. And before it was the vinyl. And then you would tell them, okay, you don't have that. You buy your song on Apple Store, whatever it was. Oh, but I don't own it. I can't physically touch it. Yeah, this is the new world. It's never going to work. It's never going to work. People, they want to have their CD. And look where we are today. It's completely dematerialized. And it's exactly the same thing that's happening with NFTs. And that's why I think people believe so much into them. I don't see it not happening anymore. I had this resistance at the beginning. I think like always when you see this new thing coming, you go, I don't know, it's not going to work. And then you think about it and you let it sink, and it's so obvious. How is it I didn't see it? And then it's going to happen exactly what you said, Pierre. Yeah, but then it becomes mainstream, so it has no value. No, not the first ones. You bought the first ones. They're the one that now they're like, wow, you know, they're at the beginning of the story.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it turns out. And then at the same time, you have the single gray pixel, as in the artwork itself is one gray pixel. It's a gray square, which was sold the other week for 1.3 million.
There's nothing new about that. I mean, go in any modern art museum, what you're gonna see? You're gonna see some paintings that basically it's a black spot on a white frame. I mean, we've seen that thousands of times in modern art.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good space to be into now if you're into modern art and the new art movement, and just creating value out of absurdity. Basically, it's the absurdity itself that creates the value. But that's again a discussion that we can continue on moving forward here. But yeah, thank you, Alex, for the analysis here of today. It's good to see you here again. And to close things off today, Rory, you've been waiting patiently the whole day today. I'm so sorry for not introducing you earlier. Rory, how's it going? And your final words as well on the discussion today.
Thanks, Pierre. I think it's been really, really interesting to listen. I think just going back to right at the beginning, from what we talked about with the likes of the football players getting involved in these betting companies, it goes to show that the responsible gaming, even from a player who's paid millions, is still tempting into that sector. So I think one of the overarching themes is we need to be really looking at this whole aspect of age and responsible gaming. So I think that goes down into the Twitch discussion as well. Interested to see how the Twitch and the streaming in the esports sector. We've always been looking at the esports sector as to how that's converging with the iGaming or gambling sector. I think it's only a matter of time before that becomes much more mainstream. And I know there are bets being placed on it, but I think it's it's quite an interesting convergence. Only go forward from there. NFTs, I'm like everyone else, trying to get my head around it, but I think it's probably going to follow the same bubble as probably Bitcoin did, where everyone invests straight away, it falls off, and then everyone might come back. So I'll be interested to see how that goes. But I certainly wouldn't be paying £1 million for a pixel, that's for sure. But you know, that's probably why I'm not a multi-millionaire. So I don't take those chances as often as everyone else does. So, but no, I think it's some really interesting discussions. I mean, I've no idea how these mergers and acquisitions, they just keep flying in the face of adversity and COVID. We seem to be doing way better than we've ever done before. So, you know, the gambling industry seems to be on a real high at the moment. I hope it's not a crash. I don't think it will be, but it'd be interesting. You know, the iGaming area, certainly with the America and the States opening up, is going to provide massive opportunities for all companies across all sectors, across all different sizes. So I think it's an exciting time for the industry to be involved in, and you know, just yeah, it's going to be interesting to discuss this. I think you've got a couple of sessions on your at your event in June, so I think you know, a lot of this will probably be discussed there. So I think it's really poignant that we're discussing it now, because it'll only still be on be able to be talked about back in June. So yeah, I think a lot of interesting talk today.
Good stuff, Rory. And the surprise of the day that you were announcing here that you're not a multimillionaire, Rory. That would have been my last guess, actually. But anyway,
Not yet.
Thank you for that, Rory. Guys, it's been an absolutely fantastic day today here on the iGaming Express with chat. Like always, fantastic to have the industry leaders here chiming in, and really great that we can have these open discussions here and float between topics. And there's always one expert in here who can chime in on whatever topic we bring up. That's what makes these discussions super dynamic. And I really want to thank everyone for coming up on stage today and just sharing their feedback and sharing everything that they have. And Tim, thank to you as well for making an effort here as well and pulling in people into the room. Really appreciate that as well. Nico, my lovely co-moderator, like always, thanks as well for joining me here today. And Karolina obviously had to leave here 10 minutes ago, but again, like to thank her too. Guys, before you leave the room today, make sure to follow the people who are on stage. They are the industry leaders, experts, always interesting to hear what they have to say. And also make sure to click the little green house here at the top that says iGaming Next, and you'll be able to join the iGaming Next club. If you do that, you'll always be notified when we open a room, and you'll also be able to open your own room to talk about iGaming stuff, which is always going to be a good thing for our industry. And with that, I'd like to close for today. I wish you all a great Thursday ahead. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe, take care of each other and your loved ones, and we will see you here next week. Thank you all so much.
Thank you as well. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.